Talking tech, we do this every Thursday afternoon at this time. Carmi Levy, CTV tech analyst, joins in. Hey, Carm, I want to mention something that you pointed out in the email today when we were just chatting earlier in the day. With respect to the flooding, we've talked about this for the past couple of days. One thing that didn't get brought up, at least I'd not heard this being talked about, was what do you do if your computer was damaged? A lot of people have basement, areas where their office is set up. If you had damage to your computer, is all lost?
It all depends on what kind of damage. Of course, most computers are not designed to be waterproof, so that could be problematic. This is where you need to make sure that your data is secured. In other words, for example, your email, was it all sitting on the hard drive of your computer, or do you subscribe to Gmail so you can sign in on another computer that does work, that wasn't affected by the flood, and ensure that all of your stuff is still there? So this is a really important reminder that disasters do happen every once in a while. Companies have these documents called disaster recovery plans. We need to do the same things for ourselves. And the priority now, if your computer or any of your electronic devices have been affected by the flood, is to make sure that your data is secure and start going through all of your systems. So your email, your photos, your business records, your tax records, whatever it is, and make sure that you can access them if they're on the device. Maybe take the hard drive out and try putting it in another computer that still works. And if you're not sure, bring it into an authorized repair facility and have them look at it, because the last thing that you should be doing is plugging in a device that may or may not have been compromised by water. Leave that to the professional.
All right, good advice. All right, let's move on and talk about this story. Nothing to worry about, everybody. Hackers may have leaked the social security number of every single American. I know this is an American problem, but if it can happen there, clearly it can happen here.
Oh, absolutely. I think we can assume that it has happened here, because if we sort of read more deeply into that story, so the numbers are huge. 2.9 billion records for people in the U.S., the U.K., and Canada. And we've been seeing reports of this for a number of months, and that this hacking collective has been trying to peddle the data, trying to sell it for $3.5 million, but no one's been buying, but little pieces of that database have been popping up online. And of course, it includes Canadians, so phone numbers, addresses, email addresses, things like that. So it doesn't mean that we are all at imminent risk of attack, but it does mean every time there's a breach like this, it means that we are going to see more phishing attempts or spear phishing attempts, those messages in our email inboxes, text message inboxes, as well as social media direct messages, where they're trying to convince us that they are the bank, our employer, the government of Canada, the CRA, and that we should click on this link in order to download the invoice or schedule a meeting or whatever. And of course, that's where we get into trouble. So basically, all of that information adds fuel to these kinds of attacks. And we really do have to keep our eyes wide open, our heads on a swivel, and not believe what messages come into our inbox, because we're about to get a lot more of them because of this particular breach.
Okay, let me go to this next story. And I'd heard someone talking about this the other day. Scammers now, and they're always coming up with new ways to rip you off, using fake parking tickets to steal your banking information. How is this happening?
This is coming to us out of Calgary, and the parking authority there is warning us, or warning everyone in Calgary and also beyond. So they expect this to spread to other cities. It already has shown up in other parts of the U.S. as well, where there's a ticket on your car when you come back to it. And of course, you're ticked off. In many cases, you just want to pay it and put it behind you. And on that ticket, which is not legit, but it looks legit, it looks like it comes from the parking authority, there's a web address on it. And it says, if you want to pay it, we'll make it really convenient for you. Pay it here. So you log into the website. You give your personal information, your identifiable information, as well as your financial information, your credit card data. And then you think that you've paid the ticket. Well, that ticket was never real. That wasn't the parking authority. They were scammers. And you have just given them all of the keys to your digital kingdom. They will use that information to either make purchases on your credit card or engage in additional kinds of financial fraud against you. So, the operative message here, and this applies in Montreal as well, if you do get a ticket, make sure that you can confirm that it is from the legitimate city of Montreal. Make sure that the web address on it is legit. If there's a QR code, those funky-looking barcodes, don't use the QR code. Use the browser. Use use the address that you know and trust. Look it up on Google to sign in and see if, in fact, it is legit. If it is a fake ticket, they'll usually put a number on it that, of course, means nothing. punch in the number on that ticket into the proper website from the City of Montreal.
Okay.
And if it is a fake ticket, it'll show you that no ticket was ever issued to you at all. But you have to sort of mistrust what you see now, because increasingly scammers are trying to insert themselves into normal, legitimate situations, paying for a parking ticket, paying for parking with QR codes on the side of the road, or maybe even using a QR code to read a restaurant menu. They're often putting stickers on top of legitimate QR codes to redirect you to a rogue website. Keep your eyes open, and it's okay if you want to touch the code to make sure that it in fact is legit.
Wow. Okay. So just work a little harder. Look, if you've ever gotten a parking ticket from the City of Montreal, maybe I got one or two.
I've gotten a few.
Oh,
yeah.
okay, good. You know what they look like, but yeah, please be on the lookout for that. Just one less thing you should have to worry about. And then I want to talk about this. This is actually kind of an interesting idea. Everybody's using earbuds these days, right? So someone has developed a pair of earbuds, a set that can detect if you're about to fall asleep while you're driving. I think this is wonderful.
Yeah, this is wild technology. They look like Apple AirPods, but they only do one thing. They track our what are called alpha waves from our brains. So our brains generate these alpha waves, and they're associated with drowsiness. If you can analyze patterns in alpha waves, you can actually detect, oh, this person's about to fall asleep. So it's almost like it's performing an EEG right on you, just based on this thing that's in your ear. And so think about it. You're at the wheel. You've been driving for a while. You're tired. You just start to do the head bob.
Right.
These earbuds can, in fact, detect that you're about to fall asleep before you do so, signal a warning, an alarm, and then you pull over and you're safe and you've just avoided an accident. That's the good news. And apparently they're incredibly accurate. They don't generate false positives. The research data is very encouraging. The problem is we can't buy them yet. So they only do the one thing. They only exist in the lab. And the researchers are going to continue to develop the software. It uses artificial intelligence to analyze the alpha waves and identify the pattern that you're about to fall asleep. And they are going to, over the next number of years, they're going to try to negotiate with companies like Apple and Samsung and others so that they'll be able to build this technology into, say, a regular pair of Apple AirPods that you would buy at an Apple store. So this will be commercialized at some point. It's too important for it not to be. It'll probably just take a few years for that. But in the meantime, when you're driving in a car, obviously, time yourself accordingly, because there's no technology. Some cars have that built in. This takes it to the next level. It's a lot more sophisticated than the sort of the feature that might sort of how you use a camera to stare at your face. This stuff is next level, and it's incredibly accurate.
So great. Yeah, when it finally gets here, that'll be great. Imagine for truck drivers and stuff, that'll be wonderful. Real quick, I want to just mention this, something new to worry about. If you have a pet at home and you have one of those lithium-ion batteries around that, you use for charging whatever, maybe keep it out of the reach of the dog, huh?
Yeah, there's a video out of Tulsa, Oklahoma that showed a dog chewing on one of these backup batteries until he obviously chewed through the outer casing and it blew up. It became like a Roman candle, started a fire that significantly damaged the home. And the good news is that all the animals, there were 2 dogs in the house and a cat, they got out safely. And the video has, of course, since gone viral. The warning here is those backup batteries that so many of us have, they're incredibly convenient. Throw it into your backpack in the morning before you head out, and you'll have power for your phone all day long. You don't have to worry about your battery running out. They're amazing. However, they're like little bombs. Lithium-ion batteries, when they are compromised, damaged, overheated, or I guess chewed on by a dog, they can explode. They can ignite. We've all seen Dell laptops exploding on airplanes in 2006, and we've seen Samsung Galaxy Note 7s exploding in 2016. This is exactly the same thing. We've got to respect batteries a lot more, ensure that they're healthy, and if they're not, replace them or get rid of the device entirely safely, because examples like this show what can happen when we're not careful.
Carmi Levy, CTV Tech Analyst. Thank you, Carmi.